Welcome to the July 23rd Tourism Development Council meeting. Let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah!
Very good, thank you. Can we do a roll call real quick?
Julie Braga,
Here.
Mayor Connors, Vice Chair Hermanson, Larry Johns,
Here.
Alex Littress, Mayor Medina,
Present.
Wayne Sword,
Here.
John Moran, and Chair Felton.
And I'm here. Thank you for that. Okay. Peter, what we want to go to first? Approval of the council meeting?
Agenda review
Okay.
and then minutes.
Anything in the agenda review that we need to do? No conflicts, okay. We have minutes to approve for the May 28th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Have a motion by Julie
Second.
Braga. We have a second by Larry Johns. Will you call the roll on the minutes for approval?
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Larry Johns,
Aye.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Aye.
Chair Felton.
Yes. We'll show that passes. Thank you. Subcommittee appointment. Peter.
Okay, so this is Mr. Moran's appointment for the marketing committee. He would like to appoint Sean Williams, who is with the Cowbell Agency. It's an advertising agency here in Brevard. And so we'll need a vote to approve Mr. Williams to be on that committee.
I guess we need a motion and a second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll move.
Okay. I have a motion by Mayor Medina. Is there a second?
I'll second Braga.
Okay. We have a second by Julie Braga. We'll call the roll on the appointment.
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Larry Johns,
Aye.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Aye.
Chair Felton.
Yes. Thank you. Members will show them appointed. All right, Peter.
Thank you. All right, few things under my report before we jump into the biggest topic that we have, which is the marketing support program. I wanted to share some updates. This is I guess we were off in June, so we actually had 2 months of TDT come in. April came in at 10.5% ahead of the prior year, and then May came in at 6.5% ahead of the prior year. So we are currently 3.9% ahead of the prior year with 18.13 million collected. So if we were to run for the next 4 months of the fiscal year at exactly what we had last year, we would end up at 25.9 million. So we'd be highest TDT that we've had, and we'd be ahead of pretty much any other year that we've ever had in collection. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, looking at Mayor, looking at June numbers, which the June we should have collection data probably in about 2 weeks. But because we get the STR daily reports, we do a projection. That's looking like it's going to be up from last June a little bit, and then kind of a little bit farther ahead in July. I don't have quite all the data there for July, but July is tracking pretty close to last July. So one thing I have heard from a number of hoteliers is individual hotels are saying that they're down in July. But from the county-wide perspective, it looks like because there's more inventory now, we're up over 11,200 rooms because that inventory has grown. It looks like TDT collections are growing, at a pace with that. So I just got today, in fact, a forecast from STR that looks like occupancy will be down this year and next year, but ADR will hold relatively strong. And given that we're adding probably between now and next year about 1,000 rooms into the inventory, that doesn't surprise me that occupancy is a little lower. But if we hold the ADR strong, then that means TDT will be up. So that's kind of what we're looking at as we go into the next fiscal. Just as a reminder, we did have a $27 million budget on revenue this year, so it doesn't look like we'll hit the 27. It looks like we'll be somewhere around that 26 mark. Right now, we have held back about $500,000 in the marketing budget just to cover that. So we're gonna stop spending short of what we would have just because of that. And then all of our other accounts were in pretty good shape. Most of the other budgets will have carry forward, so we'll be able to account for being short in the revenue side because we were sort of anticipating that as we went into the year. So that's the story on TDT, and it sort of covers budgetary items. I'm happy to answer any questions on those before we move to the next topic.
We have questions for Peter on that. That sound right? Okay. Okay, Peter.
Okay, if you would turn to your packet, and I apologize for the thick packet this time around. We tried to print on double side, and we tried to not include every attachment for all of the applications. That would have made this about a 2,000-page document. So we tried to save some trees there. But if you go to page 15, it's the sort of the spreadsheet which has the cultural events on one side and the sports on the other. What I thought we would do just for the sake of kind of keeping it clear is we will start on the left side of that page, and we'll look at the marketing support program cultural event applications first, and then I'll at some point kind of pause and then let any discussion that needs to happen, and then obviously then we'll be looking for a motion and a vote for acceptance of the awards on that side, and then once we've done that, then we'll go to sports after that. So if that works for everybody, I wanted to point out a few things on that. In the top part of this chart, you'll see it goes 18, if you look on the left side there's numbers. It goes 18 events deep, and then it stops, and then there's a break, and then there's some more. And the reason is because where that break is where the criteria of having 5,001 attendees, out-of-county attendees, breaks, and then everybody below that line did not make the minimum. Okay, so we'll just quickly say we had 20, originally we had 29 applications, but 2 of the applicants withdrew in the middle of the process, and they're listed there on the sheet as 28 and 29. So basically we had 27 completed applications, and of those 27, 18 made the minimum 5,001 out-of-county attendee number. And then if you look further down, you can see the break. You can see the award breakdown and how it breaks out. The district awards, there's $20,000 per district office. So each district Commission office has 20,000 that they can award. And then, and so we're not going to deal with that today. That's something that will come later from the commissioners. But then you can see the breakdown of, 5,000 to 1 to 10,000 is $12,500 award, et cetera, all the way down to if you had 50,000 and 1 plus, then you would be eligible for up to 45,000. So we had 2 at the very top. I put them in order of attendance. And so at the top, you'll see the Thunder on Cocoa Beach, which is the super boats races in Cocoa Beach. They are eligible for the 45,000. The Cocoa Beach Air Show, that's not this year, by the way, that's not this year's show. We used past numbers. We don't have their current numbers yet. So, but from past numbers, they do qualify for the 45,000. And that's for basically next year's show because they were awarded for this current year. So all of these awards, by the way, are all events happening in 25, 26. So starting October 1, 2025 to September 30th of 26. So this is all for next year. And then we go down from there. So I'm not going to read each one, but basically you can see how they break out. And then at the very bottom left there, I did just note there were 3 events that got awarded last year but did not apply this year, and so I just put them there. So for people's information, because people may say, well, why didn't we, have this event or that event? If they didn't apply, obviously then they're not eligible. So with that, I think what I'll do is just open it up for questions, sir, and then obviously from there, I'll be looking for the TDC to kind of make any comments and then vote on the acceptance of the award levels based on the attendance for the cultural piece. But are there any, or at least on the process, are there any questions about the process or questions about the numbers?
Questions for Peter?
Well, questions on the process, but it's regarding the sports events.
Okay.
If you can entertain that now or just wait till we discuss
If you
that.
wouldn't mind, sir, we will do
Yeah.
that in a
Okay.
second, so we'll do that one in a minute. That's okay. Yes?
These numbers that are these the numbers that the organizers provide us, or are these the
No.
numbers that the data that we use?
No, this is this is from
Mine.
our cellular data company,
Okay.
from our tool that we use. And it's from the last event that we could get good numbers from. So for instance, I mentioned that those are the Cocoa Beach Air Show numbers are not from this just recent one, because that literally just happened last week. So we don't have that data yet. It usually takes a couple of months to populate. So it's from whenever their last event was, which I think was 23. But most of these events had events last year, and so they're from last year's numbers. But yeah, this is data provided by our office. It's through our cellular data tool. It looks at domestic cellular devices and specifically looks at their at apps on those devices. If those apps are active and have GPS enabled, then they're able to track those. And so it's a little bit different than what it used to be. We used to talk a little bit about cell phone towers and pinging off of cell phone towers. That data is not available anymore. All of the cellular companies have instituted a higher level of security and privacy, so they no longer look at devices that are pinging off of towers. They have to get this data through apps that are on people's phones and the interaction with those apps. And so it's interesting, they then apply algorithms to that data, and based on location, we're able to go into a map and actually map a location, and then they give us numbers based on that. So it's an interesting process.
I have a quick question on, quick question on the air show. Since it just happened,
Do you think there's any shot that they were maybe below 50,000 people this year? And would that make them not eligible for the 45,000 if we approve this today and then you get those numbers in, say, August, September?
I mean, the way I would look at it, the way the criteria reads, it's the data that was best available at the time. So my thought on that would be I'd follow the criteria according to the last event that they had. They were eligible, and so they should get it. But if they were under 50,000 the next cycle, the next time we had a grant cycle, we'd look at that. That would be the most current one. And then if they were under 50, then yeah, they could potentially not get it the next time around.
So when do they, for instance, get this 45,000, since they just had the event and we're voting on it now? It's quite a ways
Well,
out, right?
okay, so the event that just happened was under last year's grant program. So
Yeah.
they've already got their.
They've already gotten that
Well,
money.
I won't say they've already gotten it, but they were already awarded
Sure.
that amount, right? So, because these are all reimbursement programs, right? So they don't get the money until they actually submit reimbursement, for reimbursement. But the program we're talking about now is for next year's program. So, yeah, so that we'd contract with them probably in the fall. If the board, as it goes through the board process, the board will approve, it'll go to the board in August. We'll contract with them, and then they would get, next year it would be when they would get the actual funding.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that there's time in between when you have these to get the real-time data, so that, because it's a big difference, 45,000, it jumps down to 22.5.
Right.
And it seems like there's plenty of time to make sure that we have real-time data showing that they had over 50,000. Same thing with the Super Bowl. I have no doubt that they did, based on this. I don't think they dropped attendance 12,000, but
Yeah, you don't know. We don't know until we run that data.
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, from the cycle of the program and the ability for us to have the time to do the contracting that we need to do, now's actually the best time to make those awards, like now through August. And then that'll give us, maybe a month or two before the year starts to, get them contracted, make sure they have all the
Gotcha.
paperwork and everything. So it's, from a staff perspective, we like the timing now. What happened last year was a lot of that timing didn't happen until we were already in the middle of the year, and that kind of
Gotcha.
made it difficult, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions for Peter? Before we go to the sports, right? Is that what you're going to
Well,
next?
if it would be okay, sir, I think it'd be good to have the TDC, weigh in on the cultural, and then vote on the cultural. That way we'd be done with that half of it, and then we could go to the sports from there.
All right, do we have other questions on the cultural portion? Any discussion on the cultural? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the
Okay,
cultural.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Mayor Medina.
I'll second.
We have a
or-
second.
Doesn't matter who.
Sir?
I was going to say second, but it
Oh.
doesn't matter who does
All
it.
right.
You can
She beat you to it. We
Oh,
got
no,
a
second.
second by Julie Braga. And the clerk will call the roll.
Julie Braga,
Aye.
Mayor Connors,
Yes.
Larry Johns,
Aye.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Aye.
Chair Felton.
Yes, we'll show that adopted. Okay, Peter.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks. Just as a point, also, since we did vote for those that met the criteria, which is everything from 1 through 18, the 19 through 27, and then and for that matter, the 3 at the bottom, are all still going to be eligible for commissioner district grants. So we'll probably address that a little bit later. Once this goes to the board in August, we'll find out when the board would like to bring those. Hopefully not too late in the year, hopefully relatively early in the year, and then the board can vote on those. But those are again, 20,000 per district that are allowed. So some of these may still be eligible under that round.
Can I
Okay,
ask
so-
a technical question on that, just
sir.
for the sake of the Board of Commissioners? On those district-awarded small events, what's the earliest one? I mean, is it Native Rhythms that's out there in like
I think
December?
Native Rhythms
or-
happens. Do you know, Deborah, the timing on some
November.
of these?
It's in November, usually,
The art festival, yeah.
yeah, usually around Veterans Day.
Okay, that's what I thought too. So certainly we want to take that up so
we can, yeah.
we can be ahead of that.
be
So,
great.
okay,
Yeah,
I'll
that'd
be
be really
mindful of
helpful.
that. Okay, very good.
Yep, thank you. Okay, so on sports, the major change, if you recall, with the sports criteria is we said that we kind of switched it, instead of just an award level based on a range, we said, let's just pay $15 per room night. So we used the room night calculations that, and Terry, who's our sports commissioner, is here in the back, but as we worked with these events last year, we were able to come up with an exact number of room nights, and then that's how their awards were based. And then the max for them is 25,000, so that was the most that they could get. So you see, we had 24 applications and 20 hit the minimum, which was 250 or over. And so you can see Cocoa Beach Spring Training was by far, they generated nearly 7,000 room nights. And then you had the Space Coast Spring Games, and then it kind of dropped down from there. And once it dropped below that level, then that's how you got to the number. So for Space Coast Cup soccer, that had 1,543 room nights, and the award amount is 23,145. That's $15 times the 1,543, and then all the way down. That's how it's calculated. So it's based on $15 a room night. There's a couple of things I wanted to get in front of the TDC as well, to kind of thoughts about the 4 that didn't make it. There were a couple of different reasons why they didn't make it. The first one, Bless the Babies Bowl, that's Cam Newton's football program that they brought here for the first time last year, and they generated 1,730 room nights. So they got awarded last year. They came. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. They generated the room nights. They like to come back. They had some changes in personnel, and as a result of that, their application was turned in late. I'm not going to say what the staff would like, but I think, I would love to get the TDC to give some thoughts about that, because it's not a bad event, and it's not a bad program, and it's not because they didn't make their number. It was really just, an oversight on their part. The other ones, Boxlight Boxing and the 7v7, which is a flag football event. They're technically ineligible because they're new events. And so we don't have any data on them as far as like their room nights. We didn't know anything. We didn't really know. They're events that have happened. Maybe like the Boxlight Boxing happened like 6 or 7 years ago. So we don't really have any data on them, but they're back and they want to do this again. So, they are ineligible according to the criteria because they're new. Technically, they're a new event. And the 7v7, that's a new event, so same thing. So to the right, I just put 3,750 would be what they would get if they hit 250 room nights. But, I'm not suggesting the TDC vote for them or not. I just wanted to point out that they're new events, and that's why they didn't get a guaranteed award. Then the other event, the Columbia Classic Golf, they actually did come last year. They got awarded, and they missed the 250 by like 20 room nights. So they missed the minimum. But they did come, and they did generate 230 room nights last year. It is again, it's a good event, and they will get an award for last year, but the TDC would have to kind of vote to approve them, if you will, for this next year because they just didn't make the minimum. So that's the 4 that didn't make it. I don't know. I'll just let you guys ask questions or have discussion, and then, you can decide how you want to handle those.
So remind me, if they don't hit the minimum, but they were told they would get an award by hitting the minimum, then they just don't get it?
No, well, what happened was they would get the percentage of the award based on how short they were. So if they hit 90% of their room night award last year, they get 90% of the grant award. So that's basically how, it was just like a sliding scale. So, yeah, they didn't drop out completely because of not making the minimum.
Are they, yeah, I was sort of, are they coming no matter what, either way?
My guess, I'll look over at Terry, I would think they're gonna come one way or the other, even if they don't, Columbia. Yeah, so.
Mr. Chair, I have a few questions. Sure. So the very first one is Bless the Babies Bowl, right?
Yes, sir.
Let's discuss that, I want to piecemeal the others, right? But we already see that they produce over 1,700 beds, is that correct?
That's right, yes, sir.
And so it was because it was a late entry,
That's right.
and so is that the only reason why they're not being considered?
That's the only reason they didn't get put into the top section, because they literally, had some staffing issues, and they turned it in, but it came in late. It came in about a week late, so.
So my thoughts on that is they still generated the 1,730. Are they still coming?
As from the last discussion, they do plan on coming still.
So I think we definitely want to continue to foster relationships with folks that are actually putting beds here or filling these beds, heads in beds, especially when we're at a downturn right now, right? So those are my thoughts. Then I'd like to talk a little bit about number 22, in particular, boxing. And it's not because I'm a great fan of boxing, which, public disclosure, I really am. And to that, I know Box Like Boxing recently had an event, I believe it was in May. And I don't know what those numbers show, but if we're able to tap into looking at numbers from previous events when it comes to boxing, because I know particular that there were 2 championship bouts in that event, and I know that they're looking to bring in another championship bout here in September. I think it warrants for us to look at this because not only does it get the community together, but even moreover, you're flying folks in from all over the nation to compete in these boxing events. And I think it's a worthwhile investment of our community, in particular down in the southern part of Brevard County, where we do need to fill in those gaps, right? So that I know for a fact that is being, those events are in the city of Palm Bay, and I am an avid boxing fan. And for those of you that don't understand the art of boxing, because it is an art, I encourage you to watch boxing. I encourage you, not only in the past, we've done really well with that, but in particular with the Latin American countries, that puts our Brevard County and our city on the map if it's being televised like Telemundo used to televise in the past. So I'd like to continue to have those events looked at, reviewed, and I'm not sure, are we helping them with the next process, or what have we done to try and help them along with the application process?
Yeah, no, it's all really good questions. They applied, they're, for us, they're sort of a new entity, and we were not aware that they had done any previous events within the last 12 months. So to hear that they did something in May, that's interesting, because then we could go back and actually look at the results of that. And like I said, I put in here, just like if they hit 250 room nights, that would be $3,750. And if the TDC wanted to, we could award them that and see what they produce, and then go and measure it. So, and maybe they do need a little more help with, with the application because they are a new, and, sort of newer to our organization anyway, in terms of working with us. And I'd say the same with the 7v7. You could do the same thing. You could award them, based on a 250 room night and then see what they produce. If they don't produce it, then they don't get the funds, right? Because the funding is based on $15 a room night. So, if they only came up with, half of that, then, they would only get half of that award. So something for the TDC to kind of opine on. But yeah, I mean, we certainly, as for Boxlight, I mean, as they go through the year, if they have this big event that they're talking about with the one that they actually applied for, and their application's in the packet. So I don't remember the exact dates, but whenever that event is, we could look at that, and certainly as we go into next year, we could help them with the application process with that once we know what the numbers are.
And then my follow-up question to that, Peter, is would they qualify for the district awards, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any of those, so anybody that did not get awarded, kind of can go into that pool of being eligible. And then the district commissioner could, potentially award them something, yes.
That completes my question, sir.
I asked the two hoteliers today, of the sports events, and I'm just curious, your hotel's North County versus, Julie and Melbourne and the Courtyard in 192, I think she could probably speak for. What's of these sports events, what's best for North County? I mean, in the old days, I worked at a hotel down on the beach toward Indian Atlantic, and AAU that was it. So I'm curious.
We try to avoid the sports teams in the
Okay.
youth range. They destroy the hotels. And
Bill Solomon would be proud of you.
they
I
seem to
think,
find the rooms in the area without
Wow.
using us. They sneak in sometimes, and we feel it when they do. But like the softball, the senior softball groups, the things that are not the youth sports, just to be perfectly
Like the
honest.
adult
Yes.
sports. Yeah, there's some on here, some of the marathons and things like that.
Is it Chain of Lakes? Is that where they play when they're up in north end of the county?
I don't know.
or-
I live right here, so I know what they
Oh,
do at the
okay.
stadiums.
Typically, yeah,
Yeah,
if
Chain of Lakes.
it's baseball, yeah. But, they also play around here too, a lot, Zavira.
I share Wayne's sentiment. My hotel is not designed for sports teams. I don't have the double beds, but we do, we love the marathoners, and, we even have many of the sports teams that just prefer the Residence Inn brand and will come on their own a lot. But, yeah, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah,
than-
I mean, at Quality, every double with a queen sleeper.
See, I don't have a single one.
Yeah.
I'm a king only, king
Yeah.
sleeper, so forth. So it's very slight. But I would speak for my history of working previously at the Courtyard on 182. They're very set up and proactively love having weekend youth sports.
And what are those? Just your recollection? Is it soccer? Is it?
Yeah,
is
a
it
lot of
baseball?
youth,
Yeah.
AAA and soccer, and
And on the holiday weekends.
yeah,
So
still
Columbus
not
Day.
as much as it used to be
Yeah.
back in the day.
Mm.
I think we've kind of gotten away from some of those holiday, the traveling teams don't
Yeah.
do as much, especially with soccer, that they used to do.
Probably more venues that they
Yeah,
can go to.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly remember it with the kids. Well, I was curious. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, just to recap, as I keep thinking about, Peter, Bless the Babies Bowl, right? It was probably a staffing issue, lack of communication with our team or the TDC team. Is that, am I?
Yeah, they had, I think, you know, and I looked at Terry on that, I think they had some changes in their staff, some people that, the person that had done this last year had applied, left, right?
Kendall Ogle is the,
Come on the mic, sir.
good afternoon, everyone. Kendall Ogle was the president of C1N Sports, and he took a position with a marketing firm in Illinois in April. And that's where everything fell apart, sort of. So I had to actually find someone to take that spot, because that's a big business with Cam Newton himself and his other businesses and whatnot, so.
Understood.
That's what
So it
happened.
was a staffing issue, pretty much, like they didn't communicate after.
Correct,
It created a void, so to speak.
correct.
Okay, I appreciate that, because that's helpful, because if they're producing, I think that's something that this council should consider in passing that out to the Board of County Commissioners, because the object is, they should be on one of the top of the list, right? At least number 3. So I would like for us to consider that. And then I'd also like for us to consider the box like boxing, because as you said, if they don't have those numbers, if they don't produce those numbers, then they don't qualify. So those would be my thoughts. I would encourage this council to consider in the motion, considering those that might be able to produce those heads and beds as an investment. Thank you.
And one, just as an addition, you know, Terry, as a sports commissioner, I mean, his job to go and find these types of events, go out and chase event organizers and, you know, make sure that they do come and apply for grants. And previously it was a sports grant. Now it's the marketing support program. It's, you know, but it's money that helps them pay for their expenses and then and sort of incentivize them to come here. So, you know, in his world, anytime he can get room nights into the destination, that's furthering his mission. So,
So how can we do this, this board here?
I was just, you know,
You want, okay. Mayor Connors, go ahead, sir.
sorry. My recommendation, my motion would be that, you know, we approve 1 through 20, and then 21, 22, and 23, provided they hit the minimum requirements of 250 room nights. Should the late entry and eligible folks do not hit the 250, then they don't get a percentage, they get nothing.
I'll
That'd be-
second that
That'd
motion.
be my recommendation and my
I'll
motion.
second that motion.
So they either get to the 250 and they get an award, or if they're at 249, they don't get an award. Is that right?
You missed the minimum at that point.
But are you only counting the 2, not the 4?
No, he actually went down to
number 23.
21 through 23. 24 missed the minimum in that. So
Are we talking-
in the motion, if I understood it correctly, is 21, 22, and 23. He didn't include 24 as it missed the minimum. So that's how I took it. But
Yep.
either way, if you wanted to add the 24, that's up to the individual that made the motion. I seconded the motion, though.
I have a couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I really love the way we do the sports events, and there's a real metric here on the $15 per room night, and that's something that there's no downside for us. It's black and white whether someone rented a room or not, and then we're paying the $15, which is great. A little different than the cultural events. I think the cell phone stuff is great, but I can't believe it's as accurate as the true room nights. So, you know, I think that these events bring a ton to the county. They're super important to foster, like Mayor Medina was saying. And there's always going to be new events. So if we don't allow the new events to jump in, they're never going to be able to jump in. And that's when they need the money the most, not the 5th and 6th and 7th time they're doing it. So, you know, I love the motion that Mayor Connors brought out. I would third the motion if there was such a thing. And I do think that we should include the Golf Classic in there, though. You know, just like Bless the Babies, I mean, it's an amazing event. 1,700 room nights just by missing a deadline by a week. I mean, I think that's a little bit crazy to hold them that accountable for it and not give them a $25,000 grant, assuming we have the money to do that. So,
We do.
yeah, if we do, you know, it would be my opinion that we would include all four of these, 21 through 24. And, you know, I don't even think that we should, again, my opinion, that if they don't hit the 250, if they're close, I think flexibility is the key to a lot of things. And especially new events. I mean, if Boxlight Boxing comes in and they do 240 rooms, that's a success, but they don't get anything. So I think we want to encourage people to continue to do events here and support Brevard in all times, but especially right now, we're in a kind of a crazy, slower economy. I think it's important and responsible for us to support these things. That's all I
So,
have to say.
Can I have a
Mr. Chair, I have a
Oh, go ahead.
question.
I think she beat you to it, so
My question is simple.
yield to the lady.
I just want to a reminder of this criteria was set up by the county commissioners, is that correct?
So the criteria was brought to TDC, TDC
Uh-huh.
approved it, and then it went to the county commission, and
Went to
county commission
for
approved it.
approval. Okay, just wanted to clarify, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, and so that, we're thinking alike, Julie. And so I was just going to ask our fellow council member, what threshold would you like? What would be the minimum that you would suggest, Mr. Torrance?
I would say that if you are within 10 or 15% of our minimum, they should still get the $15 per room night based on the ones they actually generated. So there's no way that they're ever going to get more money than what they generate, which is the great part about this $15 setup on the sports events versus the attendance and the cell phone metric on the other side. So I think, you know, if they're way off, maybe that's a problem, but 10 or 15%, we should have some leeway. And then we have real, true, you know, we can quantify exactly what it is. So they're getting reimbursed for true numbers, which I think is just great.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you made, is we've never, I mean, going back at least as long as I've been around, and I'm pretty sure going back well before me, they never would award more than they were originally given. So if they got 20,000, and even if they did more than that, they still got 20,000. The next year, they could come and apply for a higher level, but we wouldn't in the same year give more. So you're right, it's always kind of like if they're short, then that's when they get sort of done on a pro rata basis.
Absolutely.
Say something about Larry, it's not a perfect science, though. Like, sometimes it's very hard tracking down these numbers based on where they stayed in the hotel, verifying if it's true. Some events are play to stay, stay to play. Like, I would just say in all my years in this business, in this market, it's probably a better metric than the cell phone by far, but it's still not perfect. And I mean,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
agree with that. It's not a
especially
perfect-
with the competitors.
We
have-
use a lot of times, we'll use their, you know, they have to give us their rosters. So we'll use the team roster as a sort of a proof. And then, you know, we'll look at the addresses of where the people are coming from. If they're coming from outside of 50 miles, then, you know, those are the types of things we look at. But yeah, very rarely will we get an actual room night report from a hotel because they don't like to give us those, so, yeah. But,
Appreciate the clarification on that.
You have to have a staff person to go find it all.
right.
The room list? That's what he's asking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we used to provide those numbers, but it's not that, it's just that, you know, they could say they had 10 people stay at my hotel, but maybe it was 3, or 3 that I knew of,
Right.
or, you know, it's just hard to track down.
I think AAU also back in the day might have had a commissionable rate. If you were in the book,
Yeah.
you know, on each one of those, you might have, I'm talking about 30
Yeah, if they had
if
there was
years
a room
ago
code,
now.
if there was a code or something for the event, then we
But, yeah,
could track it
I
easier.
agree with you, it is good, but it's not perfect.
Okay, a couple of thoughts, and then we'll go back to your motion, okay? So we're clear on that. I don't want to punish a seemingly good sports event too, the Bless the Babies Bowl, because just the timeliness of application, so I agree with you on that. For the purpose of a motion, you could just, I mean, Peter, is it cleaner if we just said minimum room nights 225 as opposed to 250, or does that create other difficulty?
No, I mean, really, it's the
Because you
pleasure
were
of the,
saying, I
it's the
think-
pleasure of the TDC, and then ultimately it'll be the pleasure of the board,
I
whatever
think
they
Mr.
want to
Jarnes
do.
said something, if you're within 10%, 250 is 25, so
Yep.
if that's when the ward's going to start, is when you get to 90%, right?
Yeah.
Then you're at 225. I mean, I think we're largely saying the same thing. I guess I'm asking your advice for this, is that,
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, yeah.
I think I would remove my second if Mayor Andrews changes his motion, but other than that, I'm good with what we have right now. If he doesn't do that, we'll have to.
I'm not trying to make it overly difficult,
Yeah.
I'm trying to make
Yeah.
the motion clean.
No,
Do you want
I
how about you
appreciate it.
restate your motion, okay? And
So,
Well,
and the reason
if-
I made the motion the way I did, putting the hard, fast minimums of 250 is because 22 and 23 are currently ineligible based on the criteria as it stands as new events. So if they do deliver, we should reward that with that minimum in mind. So that was the reason for my motion. But I made the motion that we approve 1 through 20 as stated, and then approve 21, 22, and 23, provided they hit the minimum 250 room nights. Now, if the discussion ensues, which I didn't really hear too much of, that, we should allow 24 in there, I'd be amenable to that, provided they, again, hit the minimum, but they haven't, so.
And
But
the
the minimum they're saying
think-
is reducing it from 250 to 225.
Yeah, I did not state that in my
Would-
motion.
Would you consider that motion, I think is what the chair was asking.
Oh. I mean, I think 250 still sounds good, but again, I'm amenable to the group. I'm not an expert on.
I
hotel
suppose we
bed
would
stays.
be expanding the net a little bit if we went to 225. Was there other thoughts on that? I think I know where you are.
Yeah, I just don't know what the downside would be to do that. It
Right.
just gives us an ability for people to get excited, especially two new events. I mean, you never know where the boxing and the 7v7 is going to go. They could go from 250 room nights to 1,000 in the next 3 or 4 years as they just keep building up. So it's my opinion that we should do everything we can to cultivate that and be a little bit flexible.
Other
Well,
input on that?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Jarnes, brings up a valid point in new applications, right? New sports industries that may be coming downrange, and setting that bar is what we're talking about in reality. 225, I think is reasonable, so I will withdraw my second for you to reinstate the motion.
I'll friendly amendment, make the motion of 225 for the minimum.
And I'll
If I-
second that.
Okay, say it one more time, just
All
so
right.
we're clear what we're voting on, okay?
I move to approve 1 through 20 and approve 21, 22, and 23, provided they meet the minimum of 225 room nights.
And 24.
And 24.
Oh, and 24
And 24.
Okay.
And I second it.
And the minimum being 225.
room nights.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're clear on the motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I second it.
Have a motion by Mayor Connors, have a second by Mayor Medina. Call the roll.
Julie Bronco,
Aye.
Mayor Connors,
Aye.
Larry Johns,
Aye.
Mayor Medina,
Aye.
Wayne Sword,
Aye.
and Chair Phillips.
Yes. Okay. That's
Very
approved.
good, thank you.
All right, Peter.
Okay, I believe that concludes my business, so back to you, sir, for
Okay.
the remainder.
Do we have public comment? Anyone from the public? I don't think we have any cards today, right? No? Okay, we'll go into board reports. Start with Julie.
We don't have any, we have not had a meeting as we held the IRL grant process, as we build up the reserves for the beach renourishment, and our next beach meeting will be September 18th. That's my report.
Very good. Mayor Connors.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to report on September 12th. Valiant Air Command is doing their dedication to the largest event space in Brevard County. It'll hold 809 people. So I'm very, very excited about that. They'll be open for business. I know a lot of support from the TDC and the county commissioners, so we want to thank you. And again, it's just about driving tourism and events to North Brevard. As you can see on the sporting events, there was really none, so I guess we got to focus on space tourism, right? But in an effort to help them be successful, I'm hosting my own event there. Big part, thank you to Mayor Medina for giving me the idea. But I'm going to do my own mayor's ball there to try to help them be
A
successful.
mayor's ball.
Yes, and it'll be
In North County, how many people do you anticipate?
I'm planning on seating 512.
512?
Yes, that's how big this event space is. So I just want to showcase
Not
that.
510 or 20, 512.
64 tables at 8 people apiece, so that's how we came up with the
Okay.
math.
Okay.
So, limited seating, yes.
Okay.
So again, the goal is to highlight and show off that event space. And
How does one buy tickets to
I
the
have
soiree?
a flyer with me, and I'll give you after this meeting.
Okay.
But it's a fundraiser for the Valiant Air Command, so all the
When
money.
is it again?
December 6th.
So be nice and cool.
It'll be nice and cool.
Hangar doors open?
We're probably going to keep the hangar doors closed just for the fact that we want to showcase that this whole thing is under air conditioning, which is different, and that's
Yeah.
why they built the space, it's solely dedicated to events. So they're still finalizing the name, but I'm pulling for Titusville Convention Center, but, we'll see how that works, but so thank you, Mayor Medina, for the idea. You steal from people better than you.
Well, I think you have to help promote this now.
Absolutely, anything,
Okay,
Mr.
so,
Chair.
anything else, sir?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Tom's not here today. Larry?
No report this meeting.
Alex not here today. Mayor Medina?
Not much to report, but I want to commend Mayor Connors for not only that initiative, but moreover, the beneficiary to that event. And I'm really proud of that, because that's a great group, and it's an outstanding job that you're doing. So thank you, Mayor Connors. And thank you for honoring me, but that's not my idea. My idea is to bless others that are less fortunate than us and use that as a venue. But thank you for your kind words.
Thank you, Mayor.
John Moran? I don't remember if he was on the, okay. Wayne?
Nothing to report.
And Peter, you have anything else?
Yeah, just a quick note here. We shifted the marketing committee meeting that was going to happen in July to August 19th. So now we'll have a full committee because now we just voted for John Moran's person. So we should have a full committee, and we'll be covering the marketing plan at that meeting, and then that will be brought to the August 27th meeting, which is our next meeting of the TDC. So we'll be covering that at the next meeting. So that'll be hopefully of interest to everybody. That's it.
Commissioner, I forgot something.
Yes.
I just want to remind everyone that the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association is hosting the Rose Awards, which honors our frontline personnel that provide the excellent service to our guests day in and day out throughout the county. And you can nominate one of your frontline personnel, restaurants, anybody that's, tour groups, anything that's, and hotels that are doing that work every day, because we can spend all this money to get the guests here, but if we don't take care of them, they're not going to come back. So I think this is a really important honor. It's September 11th, and they're accepting nominees now. So if you have any questions or are interested in that, you can Google it, and I'll be happy to help. Sorry, I forgot.
Okay. Very good. I guess I have a follow-up question. Will the museum be open that night?
I'll have to get back to you on that. But there will be a VIP section in the Vietnam hangar, so I believe that they will make it available to see that. So, but I think the big thing is just highlighting the new event center.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Let's see. We have, September 24th, October 22nd, November 12th, right? And you said marketing committee, September 25th, beach committee, September 18th. Am I reading that right?
Also August 19th. Sorry, also an August 19th meeting that got shifted.
19th instead of the 27th?
Yeah, August 19th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's it, I think we're all through. Thank you, everyone, very much.
Thank you.